should reconsider for your own sake.
You can't tell me what to do with things like that. I'll go and tell Mrs. Davidson.
Can I give you a hand there, Miss Bennett?
Oh, thank you. I didn't realize Vincent had managed to accumulate so much.
Yeah, right. Got it.
What Dave I want?
Nothing.
Well, it wasn't good news by the look of it. All right, if you're going to talk to us, I'm going to twist your arm.
Thought any more about getting rid of that Gilmore? I reckon she should be boiled in oil for getting rid of Ken the way she did.
Shut up, Lizzie. I don't want to talk about it.
Just trying to take your mind off it, that's all.
Back to your cells.
Why?
Shut up and snap to it. Oh, what's the matter? Someone go over the wall? You don't move this instant. Oh, all right, all right.
But why? Oh, why ask? Probably something dreadful like Vinegar lost a hairpin. We're all going to be locked up until she found it.
Come in.
Gilmore's dead.
What?
Well, she appears to have fallen down the stairs.
Well, who found her?
Miss Bennett and I were just returning from H Block when we discovered the body lying in the stairwell.
Did you examine her?
Just briefly, there was no pulse, and by the way the body was lying, it looked like her neck was broken.
Were any of the women about?
Only Brian. She was standing over the body.
We'll get the women back into their cells immediately.
It's being done right now.
Good. I don't want anyone to touch the body till the police arrive.
All right, Miss Davidson.
Oh, typical of the bloody screws to lock us in and not tell us why.
Maybe Ken's got back in and they've locked you up for your own protection.
At least we're safe in here.
Come on, ladies. Hey, Mrs. Jackson, what's going on?
You'll be told.
What's going on? What's going on?
Oh, don't, Bea. I want to stay in here. I don't want to get thrown in the mail.
What's going on?
You bitch! Who's she talking to?
Hey, Judy, what's up?
Sharon's dead! Crying. Oh, she strung herself up.
What's going on?
Gilmore's done herself in.
Oh, good riddance.
Hey, Judy, how did it happen?
As if you didn't know, you bitch. You killed her.
Is everybody locked up?
Yes, Mrs. Davidson.
Or who's standing guard over the body?
Mr. Stewart. It's handy to have at a time like this, so cool and efficient.
I expect all my staff to be like that, Miss Bennett.
Mrs. Davidson.
Yes.
Detective Sergeant Teagan, Constable Stevens. I'd like to see the body before it's moved.
Miss Bennett will show you the way.
This way, gentlemen.
Take it away. The sooner I get the pathologist report, the better.
Nasty business.
Yeah, I'll get a detailed statement from both of you later. I'm more interested in the immediate circumstances of Gilmore's death. Now, you were first on the scene, Mr. Stewart.
With Miss Bennett, yeah.
We were returning from H Block when we found the body. Bryant was standing over it.
Right. Then?
Well, there was very little we could do except report the discovery and then put emergency procedures into action. Most regrettable accident, but that's the way it goes.
So, in your opinion, it was an accident?
Yeah, of course.
In my opinion, she was pushed down those stairs. She was very unpopular with the other women.
Anybody with a particular grudge against her?
Smith and Vincent. And they're both in here for violent crimes.
What about Bryant?
No, she's not the violent type.
Well, whether she is or not, everything has to be taken into account at this stage. Look, I'll speak to Bryant first. Will you bring it to me in the governor's office?
Right, but what about Smith and Vincent?
Everybody will be questioned in the course of this investigation.
I was heading for the toilets, and I saw something on the stairs. It was Sharon.
What happened then, Miss Bryant?
Well, I went up to her and I knelt down and felt for her pulse. But I knew she was dead.
How did you know it?
Well, she was lying funny. Her neck.
Was there anyone else on the stairs?
You don't think Bea was going to hang around and wait to get caught, do you?
Miss Gilmore was in on a drugs charge. Now, prisoners have ways of getting supplies inside. Isn't it possible that while under the influence of illicit drugs, Miss Gilmore fell accidentally to her death?
That is highly unlikely, Sergeant.
Why is that?
The only drugs available to the women are those prescribed by the medical staff. Gilmore was not receiving medication.
What was your relationship with the deceased?
Sharon. Well, we were very close.
I see from your file that you committed a crime to be with Miss Gilmore in Wentworth. You must have been extremely close to go to such lengths.
We were lovers. Surely that's on your file, too.
Quite. And so, being so close, you must have known how she was feeling at the time. Whether she was depressed enough to take her own life.
Don't give me that. Sharon wasn't suicidal. She was murdered, I know that.
So she was in high spirits the last time you saw her?
Not exactly.
No? Why not?
Well, we'd had this argument, you see, about what she'd done to Bea. I told her.
So, during the course of this relationship, you had violent quarrels.
All lovers
And during one of these
quarrel.
quarrels, you pushed her down the stairs.
Well, the police didn't waste any time taking your statement.
Well, there really wasn't very much to say.
What do you think happened to Gilmore?
It's obviously an accident, though the police don't seem to share my opinion.
Well, it must be pretty difficult for them to make out a case either way. On the one hand, it could have been an accident. But after all that hullabaloo in the art class this morning, it seems like a rather convenient accident.
Ah, well, what difference does it make? Gilmore's dead, and we can't change that.
You don't seem very concerned.
Why should I be?
Well, if it wasn't an accident, it means one of the women killed her.
Then the police will catch them.
How are the investigations going?
You could say they're progressing.
Well, what are the arrangements for the rest of the day?
The women are to remain in their cell until the investigation is complete. Birdsworth and Caffin are to serve the evening meal to H Block.
With that pair, I'd better make sure that everything in the kitchen is nailed down.
Something wrong, Vera?
Yes. Smith is the obvious suspect, and the police haven't even bothered to question her.
I suppose they'll get round to it. But knowing Smith, she'll have an alibi, that's for sure.
Well, if Smith didn't push Gilmore down those stairs herself, she got someone to do it for her. One of them did it. Bennett?
Bring Smith to my office, please.
Certainly, Mrs. Davidson. Well, it looks like the police have finally woken up.
If the cops thought you'd bumped off Gilmore, you'd be questioned first up.
Yeah, well, maybe they're saving their best suspect for last.
Well, what have they got on you? Sweet Fanny Adams. You was in the laundry. I'll back you up.
Thanks, Lizzie. That'll impress them.
Lizzie's right. Anyway, how do we know it wasn't an accident? She might have done away with herself.
Yeah, well, maybe she did. You think Vera's going to let a golden opportunity like this slip by?
What do you mean?
She'd do anything to put a rope around my neck, and after what happened this morning with Ken, she must think all her Christmases have come at once.
Well, all you got to do is tell the truth and keep you cool.
Gee, thanks, Lizzie.
Oh. Thought any more about your house?
What's there to think about?
Redecorating it in your own taste?
Forget about it, will you, Lizzie?
I'd paint it lavender with mauve highlights.
Will you two shut up and let me think?
I don't want to know, Lizzie.
God, you two are touchy. At least Bea's got an excuse, but you got a new house, a lovely husband, money and
Outside, Smith. Don't tell me they want to see me about Gilmore. Am I right? You'll find out soon enough. Birdsworth?
I'll go as a witness.
You'll do no such thing. You're serving dinner.
Can I give her a hand, Miss
You're
Bennett?
staying here.
But I don't want to.
Well, don't tell me you're frightened of being alone. Look, what's the matter, love? You've been jumpy all day.
I just don't want to be left by myself, that's all.
Don't worry, I'll be back soon. You won't be alone for long. I reckon the cops have to question all the girls. Get moving, Smith.
According to the record, it's fairly well established that you made threats on Gilmore's life.
Sure, but that's history. Anyhow, everyone threatened her at one time or another.
Quite. You have at least 10 more years to serve. 10 years without male companionship. That's a long time.
Oh, I don't know. All those flash schools are going co-ed. Maybe this joint will be next. A girl can dream.
Mr. Pierce certainly gave you something to dream about, didn't he? I don't know what happened between you two in that store cupboard, but I can guess. I bet he made some fairly tempting suggestions about what you might do to while away the next 10 years. And then to be exposed to all that ridicule and contempt. It must have been pretty humiliating to go through all that and have it all come to nothing. To have your dreams dashed because of Gilmore's spite. You certainly had enough motivation for killing her.
That bitch deserves all she got. But I didn't kill her.
Well, well. We certainly do have a temper, Mrs. Smith. Certainly enough to push someone down the stairs in a fit of rage.
I was in the laundry all the time.
Can you prove it?
There were half a dozen others there. They'll back me up.
Half a dozen women who wouldn't blow the whistle on their boss. Surely you can come up with a better alibi than that.
I'm a crim, Mr. Tegan. I'm meant to know every trick in the book. And don't you think if I killed Gilmore, I would have set up a better alibi?
That just means you haven't got an alibi. I've finished with Smith. For the moment.
I mean, you must know something about who killed Gilmore. Who's the chief suspect?
All the women will be questioned, Lizzie.
Good-o, because I reckon I could tell the cops a thing or two. I reckon the Almighty stepped in. I reckon it was divine indifference that killed Gilmore.
Religion isn't a game, Lizzie. You can't turn it off and on like a tap.
But if you won't tell us what's happening, you can't expect us not to consider all the possibilities.
Now that Captain Barton has found your daughter, I would have thought you had more things to occupy your mind. Brides first, Lizzie.
Well, they find out who did it yet?
They're still being questioned.
You mean those idiots can't tell who killed Sharon?
I reckon it was divine interruption.
It was Smith!
It was bloody not!
It's possible it was an accident.
Yeah, well, maybe Smith didn't kill her. But it was no accident. And if those cops can't find out who killed Sharon, I will. And when I do...
Police finished yet?
They've dismissed it as an accident. In my book, it's gross inefficiency on Mr. Tegan's part. They haven't had time to come up
Vera, they had enough time to sift through what little evidence they had. I think the conclusion's quite reasonable.
Rubbish. It was murder.
Well, they need proof, and all the officers say they saw nothing. They wouldn't be protecting anyone. Let's now patrol isolation, if you like. And don't get yourself all upset about this. Look, Gilmer was a scum of the earth. Who cares how she died?
Shut up, Smith! Aye! Will you stop that at once? What's the verdict? It was an accident. Now stop that racket.
You little ripper!
Shut up! That must have really ruined your day, Vera. Any more of that and you'll end up in solitary for a few days.
I heard what you said to Bea. If we've all been cleared, why are we still locked up?
You'll be let out in the morning.
Another 12 hours with nothing to do.
Well, perhaps you'd like some paint materials to help you while away the time.
Can I? I mean, just a piece of paper.
No!
With a pencil.
Well?
Everything okay?
Oh, yeah, couldn't be better. Listen, why am I in here? I didn't kill Sharon.
That's not the reason, Lassie.
Oh, I know. I'm in here because I wanted to find out the truth.
The police have already done that. It was an accident.
Don't you give me that. Somebody in here killed Sharon, and I'm going to prove it.
Well, good luck to you. You won't get any help, though. Gilmore's death was an accident, and that's official.
It's not true. No, it's not true. No!
Kerry reckons that bloke Austin's put a moz on a parole for sure.
Well, happy days are here again. Lizzie, didn't anyone ever tell you that no news is good news?
Just filling you in. Can I give you a hand, love?
No, I can do it by myself, all right.
Oh, come on, love. You can tell your old Lizzie what's troubling you.
Look, mind your own business, Lizzie. Nothing's wrong with me. So just get lost, will you?
No helping some people.
I'll leave her alone. Whatever it is that's eaten her, she'll tell us when she's good and ready. How about you? Have you had any news about that daughter of yours yet?
How could I? I was locked up all day.
Well, you were in Davo's office just before they found Sharon's body and you never did tell us what she said. Come on, what did Davo want?
It wasn't Mrs. Davidson. It was Captain Barton. He reckons he's found Marcia.
You mean to say you've known that since yesterday and you've never breathed a word? You old devil.
I had to think about it.
Lizzie, Mr. Reed wants to see you.
Oh, beauty!
Can I go with her, Mrs. Jackson?
No!
Well, I want to go to the loo.
Hey, what's going on?
I wish I knew. 1 minute Doreen can't stand Lizzie and the next minute she's sticking to her as if her life depended on it.
Mr. Reed reckons Marcia wants to see me. I told him I'd think about it.
Gorge, you're contrary, Lizzie. You haven't said it for 30 years and you'll think about it.
Yeah, but I don't reckon it is Marcia. And if she travels to Melbourne by train, the department have to pay a fare because she's skint.
Well, so what? It's not going to cost you anything.
No, but if I tell them it isn't my daughter, I'm going to get lumbered with the bill. False pretensions. I reckon it's somebody looking for a free ride.
Okay, so it's someone looking for a free ride. It's probably some poor old sod down in her luck. Give her a free trip to Melbourne. Have a visitor. Not going to cost you anything, and you'll probably be doing someone a favour.
I'll think about it.
Mr. Austin, don't sign out yet, please. The governor would like to see you.
Yes, sure.
Mr. Stewart, could you take over, please?
Yeah.
This way, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I've got to see my wife, Doreen Burns.
Look, prison regulations permit only one visit a week. Anderson's already had her.
Yeah,
quota.
I know all that, but look, this is really important. I mean, I'm sure if I saw Mrs. David...
Okay, if you just give me the details.
Well, it's about her house. It was left to her by her mother about the end of last
look,
year.
hang on a second. Wait a minute. Mrs. Davidson's rather busy at the moment. But I might be able to stretch a point, seeing as how you're just newlywed and all. So if you just hang on here a second, I'll get an officer to fetch your wife.
Well, thanks. Thanks
Okay.
very much.
Do you ever miss Pentridge?
Sometimes. You sound as if you can't wait to get back.
Well, quite frankly, it'd be a pleasure. You go by the book down there, and that's something that I like.
Well, we go pretty much by the book here.
As far as security is concerned, I'll give you an example. Young Barnes, he visited his wife today, and Mrs. Jackson allowed physical contact.
Well, that's breaking the rules, I'll admit, but that pair's pretty harmless.
Maybe. The sound reasoning behind that ruling. Physical contact's the easiest way of passing contraband. Still, I suppose Anderson was searched when she came in.
Something worrying you?
Did you search Anderson after a visit today?
No. Should I have?
Well, apparently you allowed physical contact. Burns could have passed something on to Doreen.
Well, I'd be very surprised. Doreen's always been pretty trustworthy.
Never hurts to check that, does it?
Hi!
Just a
What do
minute,
you mean,
Anderson.
barging in here as they own the place?
Turn out your bedding. These belong to you.
I've never seen them before, Mr. Fletcher.
Wish they was mine.
I think we'd better have a talk to the governor, don't you?
Yeah, well, they're not mine, and I don't know where they came from, but I didn't put them there, honest, Mr. Fletcher.
Come on, talk to the governor. Come on.
Oh.
Something's up.
What you mean?
Well, she's been acting strange all day, right? And now she's smuggling booze. I don't believe it. I reckon someone set her up. And I'd like to know who.
Excuse me, Mrs. Davidson.
What on earth happened to you?
I just caught her with these.
Where did you find them?
In her pillowcase.
Is that true, Anderson?
Yes, Mrs. Davidson, but I didn't put them there.
Burns must have passed them to her. He was visiting today, and Mrs. Jackson allowed physical contact.
No, he didn't, honest. He never gave me anything.
Well, how can you deny it? You had the opportunity to receive them, and they were found in your dormitory.
I know, but I didn't put them there. You've got to believe me.
Visits from your husband are a privilege, not a right. You have abused that privilege and taken advantage of an officer's kindness.
I didn't take any.
Quiet, Anderson. You will spend 2 days in solitary confinement. Perhaps that will teach you.
No. Oh, please, Mrs. Davidson. I'd do anything else. Just don't leave me on my own.
That'll be enough, Anderson. Take her to solitary, Mr. Fletcher.
Oh, Mrs. Davidson, please.
Come on, Anderson.
Well. Fancy you being silly enough to let your hubby pass you that grog, eh?
He didn't.
I know. They were a wee present from me. You see, I had to get some excuse to see you alone. We've got important business matters to discuss, Doreen. Don't you think it's about time you made up your mind to sell that house, There's no rush, of course. Tomorrow will do fine. But if you haven't made up your mind to sell by then, I might just have to give you a little push. The same as I did with Gilmore. Easy. Everything's all right. Look, everything's okay, see?
Please, keep away.
Oh, hold on there. Look. I wanted you to sleep in what I said last night, but I didn't want you to have nightmares. You, do remember our little talk last night, don't you? You know all you have to do to get a good night's sleep tonight, then, don't you, Just one phone call. That's all. Just one. Hello, Mr. Westmore? Yeah, Jock Stewart here, Wentworth Detention Center. I've got a bit of good news for you. I've got Mrs. Burns right here beside me. Just hang on 2 seconds. I'll be quick about it.
Hello? Yes, this is Mrs. Burns. Yes. Yes, I've decided to sell. Yes. Yes, I know what a verbal contract is.
What in heaven's name are you doing here, Anderson?
I'm sorry, Mr. Burns. I'll have to hang up right now.
Who was that?
Miss Bennett, I thought you'd a better memory than that. It's not Anderson anymore. It's Burns. Mrs. Burns, you know.
Yes, Mr. Stewart. I do remember. And I recall that Anderson, or Burns, or whatever she wants to call herself these days, was placed in solitary confinement. I don't recall a prison rule which permits phone calls while on loss of privileges. Official permission must be given for the use of the phone.
You're right. I'm sorry. I'm afraid I just sort of acted on impulse. I'll go and report this to Mrs. Davidson right away.
Just a minute, Mr. Stewart. I'll decide whether this matter should be reported or not.
How many fags do you want, then?
What?
Fags! How many do you want?
Lizzie, Mr. Reed's doing you a favour, arranging a meeting with your daughter. You can't go knocking off his fags.
Of course I can, as long as I don't overdo it. Anyway, I reckon he expects me to knock off a few. Always has his fag box filled every time I go in there.
Yeah, well, you be careful, otherwise you'll end up in the pound with Doreen.
I'll be right. Poor old Dor.
Yeah.
What you want to do a stupid thing like that for? Trying to smuggle grog in here?
She didn't do it. It was done for her.
Hey, guys, I got new company.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, good day. Come back for a bit.
Welcome home.
Yeah, come on.
Oh, smart.
Oh, morning, Mrs. Jackson.
You know your detail?
Yes, I was going to deliver the meal.
Right. Everybody else move on down to the laundry.
Oh, excuse me, Mrs.
Yes,
Jackson.
Vincent?
I'm supposed to be at a parole board
I'm
hearing.
aware of that. You stay with me.
Mrs. Jackson,
Yes, Lizzie?
can I see Mr. Reed about my daughter's visit?
Are there any other requests?
Yeah, I got a few, but I don't think you can help me out, Mrs.
Right,
J.
and down to the laundry, Bea. I'll drop you at Mr. Reed's on the way through. Lizzie, come on.
Thanks, Mrs. Jackson.
They're what?
Yeah, they're going to knock the whole bloody place down to make way with some flats.
Well, they must have offered her one hell of a price for the house, then. The last I heard, you were determined not to sell.
That's what I thought. Bea, we've got to get a message.
No whispering, please.
Oh, look, come on, Mr. Fletcher. Can't you see this poor boy's beside himself, not knowing what's going on?
Yes, I can see that, but I'm
He
afraid...
can't do anything until he's talked to Doreen.
I'm sorry, Smith, but you know the rules.
Well, couldn't we bend the rules just a little bit? At least get a message to Doreen, let her know what's happening with the house and find out what she wants Kevin to do. Well, that's all you want, isn't it, Kevin?
Yes.
Look, Smith, Doreen's in solitary. There'll be no communication with her until she's released.
Yeah, well, that could be too late, Mr. Fletcher.
Yes, well, I'm sorry.
Oh, he's right. There's nothing anyone can do, not while she's in the pound. Shut off. Hey, gather round, girls. We've got a problem.
Is it about Dor?
Doreen and Kevin and some creeps who are trying to bulldoze their house.
What creeps?
As far as I can make out, no one knows except Doreen.
You mean Dor knows?
Seems she got word out she wants to sell.
Oh, that doesn't make sense.
I mean, it doesn't make sense. There's something about this whole setup that stinks. There's no way known she'd sell that place, not at any price.
Unless someone's putting the pressure on.
Oh, very good. Go to the top of the class.
Sorry.
Of course someone's putting pressure on. Question is who? And how's she getting word out of solitary?
I'll tell you something that does make sense.
What?
That grog the Dor got busted with. She wouldn't have been so careless.
Yeah, you reckon someone planted it on her?
I'll bet my pension for the next 10 years somebody wants her out of the way.
Yeah, and they've succeeded. What we have to do is open up lines of communication between Doreen and Kevin.
Oh, that's not going to be easy, Bea. That bagpipe-blowing heathen, he's got all the gates locked.
Well, there must be a way. If Doreen's getting word out...
I could do it.
Oh, no, forget it, Helen.
Oh, what's the matter? You don't trust me?
Well, is there any reason why I should?
Is there any reason why you shouldn't?
I reckon you'll have to, Bea, because she's the only one who can get into that area.
And don't forget, Madam Schmidt, they're letting me out of here tomorrow. No problems for me to get in touch with Kevin, pass on the information to Doreen.
All right, so you can get in touch with Kevin when you get out. But how are you going to get a message through to Doreen first?
You write a note. Let me worry about getting it to you.
Okay? But you get this, and you get it good. You foul things up, and you've had it.
The camels are coming. There's gonna be war.
Come on, we've got things to do.
Yeah, be right there. Who's that? Who? That screw.
Him. He's the bagpipe-blowing heathen Lizzie's always on about.
His name's Stewart, Jock Stewart.
Yeah, you know.
Not personally, but I've seen him round the traps and I know some of the girls he trades with. Bagpipe-blowing heathen, eh? Yeah, well, the heathen bit's a fair comment.
What do you mean?
He's an animal. The girls call him the Highland Flinger.
Why?
Because that's how he gets his kicks. Flinging his fists about at him.
You mean he beats up on them?
Does he ever?
Oh, no, let him.
Well, of course they do. That's what he pays for, and big money.
Oh, that's vile.
Oh, it's not that bad. There's always one of the guys around to make sure he doesn't go too far. But I thought he was at Pentridge.
Yeah, he was.
That's enough for you two. Ah, Mrs. Jackson, I didn't see you there.
Obviously. Now, you two aren't out of here yet. And any more talk like that could end you up in hot water.
Oh, what's the point? You lot wouldn't believe one of us anyway.
And what is there to believe? Do you want us to take action on the strength of every smutty rumour we hear against the staff of this prison? Now, you get back to the dining room.
Okay, if I go to the toilet and wash up first?
Well, you make it quick.
You can forget about lunch, Vincent. Just get back to your cell and pack up your things. Your parole's just come through.
Hi, Dory.
No talking,
Oh, now look what you made me do.
I made you do?
Yes, you. Got me in a dither with all that talk about getting myself into hot water. Oh, thank God I'll be out of here tomorrow. Get out of this place and talk to some civilised people.
Well, never mind about that. Just clean up the mess and get back to the dining room for another tray.
Oh, yes, and Mrs. Jackson. There we are, Miss Jackson, all cleaned up. Well, the big bits anyway. You want me to get a mop?
No, thank you. Sorry about your lunch, Doreen. We'll be back in a minute.
Oh, it's you.
That little matter this morning.
What little matter was that?
You know, the one with Doreen Anderson.
You call that little. I'd be more inclined to call it gross.
Yeah, well, have you reported it yet?
No, not yet.
I see.
Do you, Mr. Stewart? And what exactly do you see?
That I've acted very, very foolishly. But you must understand, Miss Bennett. All my years in prison, I've been dealing with male prisoners. Men I can handle, but with women, well, I'm afraid I'm just a bit of a soft touch.
And I'm afraid I can't understand that. Prisoners are prisoners and should be treated as such. You'd do well to keep that in mind.
Well, as usual, Miss Bennett, you're absolutely right. Are you going to report it?
I'm thinking of it.
Well, then perhaps a drink after work might help you decide in my favor. How about it?
Staff room. Speaking. How is she? Right, I'll be right there. You'll have to excuse me. I'm wanted in reception. Release procedure. One of our charges, Kerry Vincent, is being released.
Yes, I know. I had the pleasure of telling her that just a few moments ago myself.
A pleasure, Mr. Stewart. My, you are a soft touch, aren't you?
I'll keep that invitation open.
What's keeping that girl? Do you reckon she might have got sprung passing the note to door?
Oh, how the hell should I know?
I can't make it out. Took one dinner up to door, next minute she's back to get another one.
Yeah, well, she probably upended the first one in the cell. Give her a chance to pass the note to Doreen. Also give Doreen a chance to write a reply while they're waiting for the second meal to arrive. The question is, did she manage to get Doreen's note out?
Hi, gang.
Well, what kept you?
Sorry about that. I had a bit of a mop-up job
you
to
get
do in
the
Doreen's
note?
cell. Yep, and I got a reply.
What's it say?
I don't know. I haven't had a chance to read it yet.
Smart.
Yes, Mr. Fletcher?
Get your things. Your release has come through.
Oh, thanks, Mr. Fletcher. Y'all hear that, girls? I'm off. Well, anybody want me to pass on any messages to the old folks?
Knock it off, Smart. You know that's against the rules.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Fletcher. I didn't mean anything like letters or notes or stuff like that. I just meant simple things like hellos, happy birthdays. You know, simple things that I could memorize. I mean, that'd be all right, wouldn't it, Mr. Fletcher?
Let's have the bag, Smart.
Are you going home today, Helen?
Yep.
I'll get you to sign for these after you've checked them.
You mind if I take these and put a face on? You never know who might be there to meet me.
All right, make it snappy. And don't forget there'll be a body search before you leave.
Oh, you gonna do the honors, Mr. Fletcher?
Don't get smart. Now move it. Come on. Kerry Vincent settled in yet?
Well, she's in. I don't know about settled. Oh, Wendy, could you give me Judy Bryan's file, please? I'm going to have a spot at lunch, Jim, and then I'd like to see Judy Bryant. Could you bring her out of isolation for me, please?
Yeah, sure.
Give me about half an hour, would you?
Right.
Oh, that's so much better. Have you checked that for contraband?
Without you present. Now take a seat and I'll do that now. Then you'd undergo the body search, and after that, you're free to go.
What do you want?
Me? I don't want anything. Miss Davidson wants to see you. You know, I've just been thinking, Doreen. You're a pretty lucky young lady. Married to a fine, upstanding young man. $100,000 in the bank to get you started off in a new life. You know, most of the women in this prison would give their right hand to be in that position. And all you have to do is just keep your mouth shut.
I appreciate your concern, Mr. Reed, but what do you have to back it up? You don't even have the note.
The note had to be destroyed. I've already told you that.
Yes, by someone you won't even name.
For that someone's protection, yes.
So what it amounts to is hearsay. Someone told someone who told you that Doreen's life had been threatened.
Doreen told someone. And I'm sure she'll confirm all this when she gets here.
And then what? Come in.
Doreen, Alice. Oh, rather, Mrs. Burns, I should say, to see you.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Would you mind waiting outside?
Certainly. Come on, Doreen. I'm not going to eat you.
Doreen, I shall come straight to the point. Mr. Reed has given me some rather disturbing information about you and the sale of your mother's house.
Well, what's wrong, Mrs. Davidson?
We believe you are under some sort of threat if you did not sell the house.
No, that's not true.
Doreen, did you or did you not get a message through to Cavan saying, and I quote, had to sell, he would have killed me?
Who's he?
Did you send the message?
No, of course not. Why would I have written something like that?
Doreen, nobody said anything about it being a written message.
Oh. Well, it would have to be, wouldn't it?
You tell me.
Look, I don't know what you're going on about. Can I go back now?
One last question. The sale of your house, were you quite happy about it?
Yeah, $100,000. Make anybody happy, wouldn't it?
All right, Doreen. That will be all.
Doreen, if our information is correct, a lot of people, including your husband, have put themselves at risk to get that information to us. Don't you think that you owe it to them to tell us the truth?
But I am telling the truth. Honest.
End of story.
Not quite. I had the feeling she was holding back, didn't you?
Yes, of course, but
She almost gave herself away with that written message.
it's not much to go on, is it?
Nevertheless, if there's the vaguest possibility that an inmate is being threatened by a member of staff, then it is my duty to mount a full investigation. Oh, Wendy, could you inform all male members of staff they are to come to my office at once?
It still beats me how she managed to get a message out of solitary that she'd sell the place.
We got word out to Kev.
Yeah, with a little help from our friends, but we still don't know if Kev got the message.
What message was that, Smith?
Oh, hello, Miss Bennett. It's just Lizzie here. She's a bit worried her daughter might not turn up today. And I said, well, Mrs. Davidson could get a message out to her if that's what Lizzie wanted.
Well, you can stop worrying, Birdsworth. Your visitor's in the garden with Mr. Reed.
What am I going to say?
I'm sure you'll think of something, Birdsworth. Now come along, or the visit will be over before you get there.
And because of these accusations, I have given instructions that Doreen be taken out of solitary and moved into the main building.
For her protection?
Yes, Mr. Fletcher, and for the protection of my staff.
That sounds reasonable.
Reasonable? It's a con.
What if it's not a con? What if she's telling the truth? I mean, it is our job to look out for our safety as well as our reputations. That's right, isn't it, Miss Davison?
Yes, Mr. Stewart, that is correct. And by moving her in with the other women, we reduce the threat to her.
And she gets off scot-free.
We shall be keeping a close watch on Doreen until this matter is cleared up. And I assure you, if it is found that it is a con, she will not get off scot-free. I know we are short-staffed at the moment, but I must instruct you to ensure you are in the company of a female member of staff at all times. That is all, gentlemen. Thank you.
Hey!
Oh, Bea. Gee, am I glad to see you.
What are you doing in here? We thought you'd been put away for good.
Oh, Davo okayed it this afternoon.
Well, just as well she did. Look, there are a few things I want to know about, like what is happening about this house of yours, for instance.
Oh, gee, Bea, you're never going to believe the strife I've got myself into.
All right, you bitch. On your feet.
Who, me?
You're the only bitch I can see in here. On your feet.
Hey, what's hitting you?
You are.
What's going on and what's all this on your feet crap?
Oh, you're going to get yours, Smith, but you're going to see it coming.
What are you on about?
You know what I'm on about, Sharon. You didn't give her a chance, did you? Just one good hard push from me.
bloody head, God.
Let me go. Let me go.
Shut up, Trudy, just shut up.
Now, come with me.
You bitch. You murdering bitch.
Come on, calm down, Judy.
Why should I? That bitch in there killed Sharon, and I'm going to prove it even if it kills me.
But Bea didn't kill Sharon.
Oh, come off it. You're not going to tell me you believe that accident crap. Accident, my ass. She was pushed down those stairs. We know why, too, don't we? Because she hates drugs and drug pushers. Okay, Doreen, I know that Sharon was no angel, but she didn't deserve that.
Bea didn't do it.
Who?
Can't we just leave it at that? It wasn't Bea.
You tell me.
All right. But it won't do you any good. Because without proof, there's nothing you or me or any of us in here can do. Not a thing.
Hello again.
Oh, Miss Bennett.
Oh, we're off duty. Vera,
All right then, Vera.
that invitation this afternoon, is it still open?
Well, actually, I've got to meet someone here in a couple. No, look, I'm sorry. How about dinner tomorrow night? Would you like that?
I'd be delighted.
All right then. Well, I'll see you back at the factory in the morning then.
See you there.
All right. Good night, Vera.
Excuse me.
John Stewart.
There you are, you wee devil. Right on time, too.
Deal's a deal.
It is that.
For you.
You little beauty. Would you like a drink? Brian, aren't you supposed to be outside working?
Yeah. But suddenly I'm frightened of these stairs. You knew my friend Sharon Gilmore, didn't you? She died on these stairs. She fell all the way down to the bottom. It was an accident, they said. And you and I know that that's not true. Don't we, Mr. Stewart?
Such a sweet thing. Looks a bit like me when I was her age.
Wouldn't know about that, Lizzie.
Don't you reckon she looks a little bit like
Of
me?
course she does. She looks very much like you.
Thank you, Miss Bennett. The place seems to be running quite smoothly for once.
Mrs. Davidson?
Yes, Miss Bennett.
Mrs. Davidson, I think I should know why Doreen Burns was released from solitary. Or do you have a particular reason for not informing your staff of the situation?
No, Miss Bennett. The circumstances which brought about her release concerned a complaint by her against a male member of staff. But you are quite right. You are entitled to an explanation. I shall be calling a meeting of senior staff later this morning. Now, if you will excuse me.
Good morning, Vera. Or, rather, Miss Bennett.
Good morning, Mr. Stewart. How was your meeting with Mr. Westmore last night?
Fine. You know Mr. Westmore, do you?
I didn't realize he delivered your mail to you. By the way, did he happen to mention whether or not he'd been able to acquire Burns's house?
No, he didn't. He said he was rather interested.
You know,
in
Mr. Stewart, something's just struck me as being rather odd.
Oh, what's that?
Doreen Burns. Mr. Westmore wanted to buy her house and she refused to sell. Then she was threatened by an unknown male officer and had to be released from solitary, obviously for her own protection. And then last night at the hotel, Mr. Westmore arrives and hands you a rather large envelope.
I don't see what Westmore and the pub has got to do with all this.
You must admit it's rather interesting. Now, Burns happens to sell her house as well. Oh, by the way, Mrs. Davidson's calling a staff meeting later this morning to discuss the whole incident. I'll see you there.